Welcome back. Heavy rains in Pune have claimed 14 lives in less than 24 hours. 6 people, including a child, were killed after a wall collapsed in Sahakar Nagar. The increased water levels in a drain washed away 5 people, killing 3 others. Another person has died after drowning in a canal near the Singhat Road. While water has now started receding across the city, many areas, the residents are still cut off without power and without drinking water. My colleague Disha has spent the day in Pune today tracking the devastation. Disha, have things gotten better at this point? Have the authorities managed to get on top of the situation?
Well, certainly, Faye. In fact, when we spoke to the district administration in concern just a short while back, they said that the situation is pretty much under control. Since morning today, we are in Pune, Faye, and we haven't seen rains at all since morning. So that, of course, led to a complete no hindrance in the rescue operation whatsoever across the district, and especially in Baramati area. What we know for the fact, 16,000 residents have been evacuated, and they have been shifted to the at least 45 locations in and around as a precautionary measure for that matter. In Pune, if we talk about Faye particularly, we saw many low-lying areas being affected, and we traveled to certain locations, be it Sahakar Nagar or be it even Katraj for that matter, where almost all the houses, at least if you talk about the ground level in the first floor houses, were completely submerged underwater. The water levels rose up to at least 6 feet, especially in residential societies and shanties and chawls for that matter. And we also did speak to those people. We went to these flood affected areas where they say that everything almost has been destroyed and damaged, be it the houses, be it the basic food essentials, the items. Even if we talk about the shops, many people have lost businesses anywhere ranging between 5 to 10 lakh rupees. So all of this is the aftermath of flood water that entered into the city, and that was only because of the water which was released from the catchment areas, upper stream catchment areas, and it led to the city canals which really flooded most of the low-lying areas. We also saw it at many places, Faye, that the roads were also caved in, and many routes are still shut even as we speak, and the authorities are trying to get it fixed, but it will take a week or so is what we are being told. On an average, if we talk about the latest 8 p.m. update, Faye, 14 people have lost their lives if we talk about across the district, and 9 people are still missing in different rain-related activities. Many people have lost their lives inside the city of Pune, and 6 of them have lost in the Pune rural area. As of now, the district administration says that the situation is pretty much under control. Today, because of the high alert by the IMD, the schools, colleges, as well as universities were closed and shut in the city of Pune, as well as the entire district. But as the IMD has predicted that the next 48 hours, fresh rain spells is expected in the city, they will take a call by tonight as to whether to keep the schools, colleges and universities shut for tomorrow as well.
All right, Disha, thank you for that update. And of course, we understand that the rains. Disha, quickly, the highways outside of Pune, between Mumbai and Pune, are they safe to travel right now? Is there any sort of a problem? It seems like a fairly dry road behind you.
Well, that's right, Faye. We are here on the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, and you can see that the highway is pretty much clear. It's pretty much safe to travel at this point in time. Considering it has not rained since morning, Faye, the situation is pretty much controlled, and that is why we can see many roadblocks which were there till late last night. Yesterday it was cleared by today morning, especially the highways and also few roads which led to the important and most prominent locations inside Pune.
All right, Disha, thank you for bringing us that update. My colleague Disha Shah there, who went to Pune this morning to bring us an update on the damage caused by the very heavy rains and the flash floods that Pune witnessed yesterday. Moving on to a story that should perhaps break our hearts, really. 2 children of ages 10 and 12, brothers, 2 boys, were beaten to death in Shivpuri, in Madhya Pradesh. Their only fault? that they were Dalit. The monsters from Madhya Pradesh who killed these two children because they were defecating in the open. The brutes mercilessly thrashed the children with lathis until the children died outside the Panchayat building. The police have arrested the accused. Ironically, the centre's Swachh Bharat website indicated Shivpuri as an open defecation free zone. Now, while the state government website does not list the district as open defecation free. The big question really here that we have to stop tonight as we ask ourselves is this. How angry did these individuals get that they felt the need to beat children to death? And while they were beating these children to death in front of the Panchayat office, where were everybody else? And why didn't anybody stop them? Where was the police? How is it that we live in a country where this sort of thing is still happening? On the conversation with me, Dr. Sameer Dalwai, spokesperson for the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. Ashok Bharti is the principal advisor for the National Confederation of Dalit and Adivasi organization. We have Inakshi Ganguly, who is the co-founder of HUC, the Center for Child Rights, and we have Mr. Dhanraj Vanjari, former ACP Mumbai. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I also want to point out to our audience that the state of Madhya Pradesh is currently run by the Congress party and they do not feel the need to be part of any conversation, even a conversation like this one that pertains to the rights of children within their state. The Congress party feels that it is not answerable for anything at all. Mr. Ashok Bharti, this is perhaps the most heartbreaking story of atrocities that we've heard. I can't remember the last time we came across something like this. I want to understand if you come across stories like this more often. Is this a one-off, Mr. Bharti?
Well, Faye, this is not the one-off. This is the one which has come to the light to this world. And I would like to mention that this story of open defecation and all that, there is a story behind this story also, which I suppose that the media is not looking into. As we got the information, this girl was tried to be raped by these two persons, and his brother tried to save her, and that's why to remove all the evidences, they made a story of open defecation and they killed both the boy and girl. So this is not only defecation, it is a classic example of murdering a child and while attempting a child rape and then murdering and painting the story otherwise, because administration wouldn't like to take this blame. And I guess Madhya Pradesh is the only state where Atrocity Act is hardly implemented seriously. If you look into the kind of the atrocity takes place and the number of the atrocity recorded under the Atrocity Act is very dismal. So I guess the government need to take, we have seen that Mr. Kamal Nath, the Chief Minister, has given a statement, he has condemned it, but Mr. Kamal Nath, condemnation of this incident is not enough. Act and ensure speedy trial of the perpetrator of this violence and give an exemplary punishment to them.
Well, I just want to correct myself and apologize to my viewers. I got that detail wrong. I did say at the beginning of the story that it was two boys, these children, but it was one boy and one girl. Just to take this question back to you, Mr. Bharti, the police, the SP Shivpuri has put out a statement saying that the beating happened because they were defecating in the open in front of the Panchayat office and that offended some people, which is why these children were beaten to death. Are you suggesting that even the police have either not understood the case or they're misrepresenting it?
I think the police has not understood the case. They are just trying to wish away this case and they are misrepresenting the fact. These two gentlemen tried to rape the girl. And when her brother intervened, of course he is a tender age boy, then the story was cooked up and the story has been told by the perpetrator of violence as an open defecation case. It is not an open defecation case, it is a clear attempt of raping the girl. To remove all evidences, they killed the boy and girl both.
Right. I have Dr. Dalwai here for a very specific reason, and I'll tell you why, viewers. Dr. Dalwai is a pediatric development doctor. He's the kind of doctor we'd want to take our children to here in cities like Mumbai and Delhi. But these two children also deserve good doctors. And I want you to understand how we feel when our children have a cut or a scrape or they fall down. Or even imagine if a teacher hit your child with a stick. What would that make you feel like? What happens when someone takes a lathi and beats a child until that child dies? The brutality of that case, the brutality of that crime should really drive home a point here. Dr. Dalwai, forgive me for putting you in this very uncomfortable and difficult position, but the truth is that we live in our bubbles in urban India, but we still live in a country where children are being beaten to death.
Absolutely.
Well, it's absolutely horrific what has happened, and the reasons being put out for why this has happened. And I'm glad you brought out this point that many of us live in our bubbles, and we have absolutely no connect with what's happening in the largest part of India, that is in the villages. And the gentleman who spoke before me, he said he brought an angle to it which I was not aware from the news report so far. But well, anything is possible, and at the end of the day, who knows what goes around there and who's in power and what is the story put out and what are the local political, caste, religion factors that are going to play. The truth is, two innocent children, 10 and 12-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy, perhaps should be in class 5 or in class 7 and should be, leading their lives like all children in our houses today who are watching this debate. But unfortunately, over an issue, perhaps over just an open defecation. I mean, on one hand, we are told that the village was defecation free. The state government says no. 2nd October is going to be when we are going to declare ourselves as open defecation free. But this is perhaps the story where a child does not have a place for defecation. That itself is such a tremendous anomaly when it comes to child rights. When a 12-year-old girl and a boy have to go out on the open road for defecation, and then somebody takes offense against it or wants to have commit a sexual assault on that girl, and then you can just beat them to death. And the unfortunate part is, look at the various statements being put out by people in the police force itself. So there's obviously political forces at play here, and there's obviously a lot of prejudice. I think what's very important for us to realize that when it comes to our country, the children are our future, but the future is bleak if we ourselves are so prejudiced about things. And irrespective of the caste or the religion of the children who have died, children have no religion, children have no caste. I think it should be an outrage that should, provoke or, bring all of us to oppose this totally. And we have been doing this on your channel, Faye, whether it's malnutrition or the brutality against children. I cannot imagine how these things are allowed. In any other country, if it happens to a child like this, it would be a national uproar. I don't know how many people are actually talking about it. I thank you for bringing up this topic. And on behalf of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, I condemn any kind of violence against children, and I exhort my fellow countrymen to rise up in one voice and make your voice heard. Children have to be protected by adults if we want our country to be what we want it to be.
Right, so we've just checked with our colleague, the reporter on ground, who says that the FIR doesn't mention the angle of rape at all. Also, Dr. Dalwai, while I appreciate your sentiment, I will accept no thanks whatsoever for bringing this story onto prime time, because what else could possibly be more important? This is the absolute bare minimum of doing my job as a journalist. This is the bare minimum that would qualify us as journalists. Ms. Ganguly, do you also echo what Mr. Bharti said, that this is a story that has got some sort of limelight, but there's atrocities like this taking place on a regular basis in our country?
Discrimination on the basis of caste remains a reality, and Ashok is so right. But what came to me when I was called for this program is the absolute impunity with which violence is being perpetrated today. Clearly, there is an emboldening of that people feel that they can get away with this level of violence, which is so scary and so disturbing to me. They feel that they can kill, beat, pillage, and everything will be fine. So there are two things that I want to bring to this today to the channel. One is the fact that it is about the Dalit children and it is discrimination. Second is this new angle that came up that Ashok has brought in, and I want to echo I say the same thing again and again, that every time we have punitive punishments, and if there is rape that's going to happen, it is accompanied by killing of the children to take away any evidence. And if the charges of rape are true, then this once again proves that punitive punishments like death penalty may make us lose the children rather than just have them violated. But I once again would think about the level of if there must have been other people it's just outside of the panchayat house. When I was reading the news, it struck me, what were the other people doing? Why is it the other day too I asked the same question when we were talking about child rape? What was happening? Where are all the other people? Why don't they speak up? How is it that this kind of violence can happen in an open space? It's just, I am distressed, I am angry, and I am horrified.
We have Mr. Dhanraj Vanjari, who's also with us, former ACP
and most
crime,
important,
yes, in Mumbai. Mr. Vanjari, good evening and thank you for joining us. When you were sent the details of this case by my team, I mean, the rest of us found it distressing, but if you were to look at it with the clear eyes of a police officer, does it add up for two children to be beaten to death in this fashion in front of the panchayat office, Mr. Vanjari, in broad daylight? Something's horribly wrong with this story.
Faye, as it has been brought, Faye, yeah, it seems so. Faye, as it has been brought in the limelight, either it is a case of open defecation or a rape, but element of lynching you cannot take out. Lynching is definitely there. Even if you go by way of a rape story, they have lynched the children. Even if you go by open defecation story, then also the lynching is there. What we are missing here in this country, we do not have a stringent act to face this psychopathic menace of the criminal element. It is spreading like anything. One thing is very important to understand, that why they lynch the people. Because in lynching, more than 2, 3, 4, 5 people are involved. And under the trial, when it goes to the court of law, it becomes very difficult to fix a responsibility of murderer in such cases. And I think the criminal are well aware of this fact, that if such cases been happen, more than 2, 3, 4 people go there and kill somebody, nobody can get punishment. And therefore, there is a big disparity, gap between the crime and the justice. Now, what we need actually, we need a suitable amendment in IPC or a special act, as we had TADA, as we had Makoka, for dealing with the menace like terrorism. I think it is a new psychopathic pattern of terrorism within the country, and we need to curb it. I feel very sorry for these two Dalit children. Atrocity element is already there. It has been brought to the notice that caste discrimination in this country is rampant. And like this, if you are going to create atrocities on minorities, including Dalit, Muslims, Tabrez case is already witnessed there. And we can see that what is happening. Now, it's an alarm not only to state government, but it's alarm to the central government, under whose province it comes to enact the law in the parliament and get a stringent law. Unless there is a stringent law in this country, I don't think we can stop this kind of menace and psychopathic criminal activities.
Dr. Dalwai, I saw your hand go up. Go ahead, please.
Fake. So I would like to respond to what Mrs. Ganguly said about not having death penalty for rapists. And she has a point which is being made very often, that provokes the rapist to then murder the unfortunate victim, so that there is no evidence left. That's only and only because we do not have reliable forensic services. Because if there is even in the case of this child, unfortunately, I do not know what the matter was, but if there was an attempted rape, a good forensic examination should be able to expose the fact that this was attempted, this happened, and even identify the victim. I mean, this happens all across the world. Nowhere else do we have this call that rapists should not be having the capital punishment, so that they will let the victim go alive after violating them. That's only because, one, either the forensic services are not good enough in a village like Shivpuri or its whereabouts, and second, can they be corrupt officials as well? So it's actually a matter of social concern. The second point what Mr. Vanjari said, I'd like to respond to the word that you use, psychopath. What's happening is, initially we used to have riots. Today we don't have these huge riots because that somehow seems to spoil the country's image in international markets. Now we have this much more smaller but more focused, more vicious, more menacing lynchings, which is a group of 3 or 4 people doing what they want. And I would, perhaps Mr. Manjari is a law officer, he knows better, but more than law, it is a social situation that is leading to this psychopathic behavior that we are seeing. And hence, unless the social structure, which is changing so drastically, is held back in check and in control, I think this madness is going to spread. Because it's always a prejudice that drives this, and if there are 3, 4 of people like me and I have somebody who's different, we will always gang up against them. And this kind of ganging up is becoming dangerous not only for minorities, because if you look at the stories abroad and at other countries, it starts against the minorities. Once the minorities out of the way, it goes to your own people. Because the entire thing is, like he mentioned, it's a kind of a psychopathic behavior. You like that violence, you like that kind of ganging up, and that power and that thrill that the chase and the hunt and the kill gives you. And this is something we must debate at a national level. Are we leading our country down an abyss in the so-called atmosphere that we are having right now?
Mr. Bharti? And we just want to open this up to phone calls as well. And the reason why I'm staying on this story, I want to point out that, like I said at the beginning, no one from the Congress has agreed to be part of this conversation from Madhya Pradesh and be accountable for what's happening in the state. We didn't want to include anybody else from any other political party. We want to be able to bring this to the foresight. If not anything else, I want you to be aware of the fact that this sort of thing is happening in our country. Mr. Ashok Bharti, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing, that while agreeing what Mr. Vanjari has said, that India needs a very, very strong law, and more than law, I would like to cite what Dr. Ambedkar said. If the conscience of the society is against the law, you make any law, it is not going to serve the purpose. As far as scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are concerned, there is a law which deals with the lynching of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe as well. So it's not that the law is not there. The only thing is the conscience of the implementer of the law is not there. The enforcing agency of the law is hand in glove with the criminals. And that's why the law are becoming ineffectuous.
Mr. Banjari? And this is true, Mr. Banjari, whether it is a question of rape or the rape of children, or atrocities committed against those of different castes and tribes, at the end of the day, it depends on how well we implement these laws. We could write any number of laws in this country, but it depends on the police, it depends on forensics, it depends on evidence collection, Mr. Vanjari.
Yeah, I agree with you, Faye, totally. But presence and absence of the law is something to be considered very seriously. Presence of the law is must. Now, implementation of the law is not happening in this country, and that is how we find this situation. What happened? Law implementers, the police, law enforcing machinery, as it has been referred to, some forensic and that. Tell me which machinery or which institute is not politicized in this country. Where is no control of politics, you tell me. As such, in no state, police is a autonomous functioning body. Police is always a part of government machinery. It's a part of political machinery. When political corruption been rampant in the country, how can you expect our institutes like CBI, maybe some SIT or maybe police or maybe law implementer, prosecution, court of law, everything inclusively, how do you expect these systems to work properly? When political conscience is not at the place, when political ethics, the moral is not at the place, how this system we expect to work properly? If there is some upright officer and he does his work tomorrow, what is the guarantee he won't be sent out or involved in some fake criminal cases and he has been made a criminal or he has been made to suffer not following the directions, not following the wrongful directions of the politician? This is a horrible condition in this country. Let's go to the seedling of the issue. Implementation of the law, why proper implementation is not happening?
Yes.
Absence of the law, why proper law is not present in this country? The conscious, many people have said, no doubt there is a social conscious and we require to handle this manner through social levels also, but law has its own functioning, and I pray God that tomorrow this country may say that in this country the implementation of the law happens as it is in the verbatim definition of the law implementation in the books of law.
Well, Mr. Manjari, I appreciate the fact that you're going to pray to God for the implementation of the law, but unfortunately the law is broken in the name of God more often than anything else in this country at this point. One God or the other is invoked to break law and to take the law into our own hands and to actually commit acts of violence, to a point now where we're talking about the lynching of children. Unfortunately, Dr. Talwai, I've run out of time on this story, but we will keep coming back to incidents like this. And like you pointed out, we need to have a larger conversation on why acts of lynching and acts of mob violence seem to be getting the better of us as a society, as a people, as a race, and as a country. Surely we can do better. Moving on to our continued coverage of Kashmir. Ground reports from Kashmir today. We focus on the situation of small-scale industry. My colleague Fareed has spoken to local traders in Anantnag, and which is of course considered the hotbed of militancy and unrest. But to understand the impact of the restrictions on businesses, traders claim that they've been struggling to pay their bank loans and pay salaries of their employees because they simply can't keep their shops or their workshops open. Take a look.
बहुत तबाह हो गए हैं, हम बर्बाद हो गए हैं, बैंक के पैसे बकाया है, इंटरेस्ट नहीं कहीं से आ रहा है, क्या करेंगे हम? क्रेडिट कम्युनिकेशन की वजह से बैठ गए हैं, सब सारा धंधा बेकार हो गया है हमारा। हमारी परतीत भी खत्म हो गई है, बैंक के पास भी कोई परतीत नहीं रही है, वहाँ के व्यापारी जो है वो भी अब माल कहाँ से दे रहे हैं, दे देंगे हमें। अब कम से कम 4-5 लाख रुपए का नुकसान हो गया हमारा, कम से कम एक यूनिट होल्डर का, कम से कम, बगैर इंटरेस्ट सूद उसके बगैर। लेबर आते हैं, लेबर बेचारे आते हैं, उनके पैसे उसका तनख्वाह देना पड़ता है, क्या करेंगे हम फंस गए हैं।
जो पुरानी इंडस्ट्रियां यहाँ लगी हुई है वो दिवाली के दहाने पे पहुंची है। पहले हमें गवर्नर से ये पूछना चाहते हैं कि जो पुरानी इंडस्ट्रियां यहाँ हैं उनके बारे में क्या इन्होंने सोचा है। हम तो दिवालेपन पे पहुंच रही है, जो हमारी लोकल इंडस्ट्री है वैली की, हमारे मुतलिक इन्होंने क्या सोचा है। हमारी नौबत यहाँ तक पहुँचे कि हमारे बाल बच्चे खुदकुशी पर पहुँच रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारी तरफ कोई ये तवज्जो नहीं देते हैं ये गवर्नर इंतजाम है। ये क्या कहते हैं हम कश्मीर को यहाँ से वहाँ तक पहुँचाएंगे, हमें क्या भूल जाएंगे सब, कश्मीर इतनी तरक्की करें, ये सब झूठ है, ये सब धोखा है। हमारे बैंकों का कर्जा है, हम बैंक का कर्जा उतारेंगे या लोकल इंडस्ट्री को, ये जो लोकल हमारे कारीगर हैं उनको देंगे।
My colleague Fareed is live on the phone line with us right now from Srinagar. Fareed, thank you for joining us. Even within Srinagar, those people who've not been able to open their workshops or to open, especially I'm concerned about the artisans, the people who weave the carpets or the shawls, who make the boats that go onto the lake. What's happening to these people today?
Well, Faye, it is a terrible, terrible situation for the businessmen especially. I mean, if you're a garment servant or if you're working for the garment, you will at least get your salary at the month end. But as far as these industrialists are concerned, traders are concerned, transporters, small-scale industry owners, now you heard them and they're in a very, very tough situation. Most of them have bank loans and they're dependent on repayments on their business now, which is shut. And normally also, if you talk of Kashmir Valley, it is prone to bouts of turmoil. and they were already struggling. Their units were sick. They were in the red. And now this 1.5 months of clampdown has literally lent a death blow, a final nail in the coffin as far as these small-scale industries are concerned. Now, as you rightly said, it's not just one. I mean, you check cross-board, you'll find every industry which is down and out, and people are struggling. They don't know what to do. When will this end? No one has an idea. Now, this has also led to a sharp increase in joblessness. Now, you have hundreds of youth who are associated with these small-scale industries, with traders and otherwise, and they have in one shot been rendered jobless. So this has also increased the ratio of joblessness. And as far as the government is concerned, obviously, there has been a break, a sudden break as far as their initiatives are concerned, because after what they did for apple growers, the horticulture industry, or a few steps here and there, they have absolutely gone silent. There's nothing as far as for these industrialists are concerned, and as far as all these small-scale industries are concerned. So it is really a very sad situation as far as the business are concerned, as far as Kashmir Valley is concerned. And generally also, it's day 53. And these people absolutely have no idea when will this end. Now, this is a strange situation, as we have been saying. Every day is a kind of a repetition of the day that has gone by. There is no public transport. Shops are shut here and there. There is some activity as far as essentials are concerned, people trying to grab essentials. But everything else is or has hit a standstill. So this really is a terrible
Farid,
situation.
if you've had the opportunity in Srinagar to visit the artisans and the artists who actually make all of the handloom for Srinagar, for Kashmir, and the carpets, are those workshops working right now, or are those closed as well?
Most of them are closed as well. In fact, just this morning I went to interiors of Srinagar and visited an area which is known for its for the copper works. Now, they're age-old industry, and also there you will find hundreds of youth getting a job. So there I managed to speak to a few people. They say that the early morning they open their shops just to clean the dirt, but there is absolutely no money that is revolving in the market, or the fact that people do not have the money to spend. So the spent as far as the money is concerned, they do not have the money to spend, and that money cannot move around. So that is the big issue. And the other part is the communication blackout that still continues. Other than landline, you don't have anything working, and most of them are really dependent on that.
Farid, there are also reports coming in of the apple orchards that need actually harvesting at this point. Apple picking that's not taking place because there's no labor. The fruit is rotting on the trees. The fruit is rotting in the APMC markets. Is that true as well?
It has been hit. There's no doubt about it. You talk of South Kashmir. Needless to say that all that has happened with South Kashmir, and right now also with this shutdown and complete communication blackout, you have the apple traders, the people who grow this fruit every year. This time around, it used to be buzzing with activity. You had fruit markets, fruit mandis, where they used to bring their produce and then ferry it out. But this time around, you go to these fruit mandis, you'll find absolute pin drop silence. These are deserted. And whatever fruit that is being sent out is directly from the orchards. Whoever can do it in the dead of the night, he does it, because otherwise, through the day, it is very difficult to move those trucks from South Kashmir. North Kashmir is slightly better, but South Kashmir, through the day, I mean, not many truckers, transporters can take the risk of taking those trucks through, because there is a threat as far as the situation is concerned, and that obviously, as you rightly said, has led to most of this produce not going out. And again, you're talking of an industry which has an 8,000 crore potential, and that industry is also really in doldrums. So that really tells you the situation right now. And as I said, unfortunately, the government should take the initiative in such a situation, because it is their imposed curbs and restrictions. So they owe it to the people to come out and do more for the common man who's literally stuck. Now, this is not something that he wanted, 370 or no 370, 35A, no 35A. But right now, what is happening is that he's literally down and out, and government not doing enough to reach out and do its job, because it owes it to the people.
All right, Farid, thank you for bringing us that report from Srinagar. We're going to focus more on the industries now, and at 53 days of shutdown, People are going to run out of money because they're simply not able to work. And that is a very difficult situation to put an entire population in. That would be an understatement.